They say cash is king. See, cash is a person. That's right. Cash is a person. Pounds, those are measurements of things. You like nice things, you should buy them in pounds. See, cash is how you invest in people. And then you have, lastly, what I like to talk about, which is called dirham notes or dirham currency, which is what I get into. It's Moroccan money. This is how you invest into places. This is how you invest into places. So they say cash is king. And a lot of people don't have a lot of cash because it's controlled. It's owned by someone. I've been studying this stuff, and it's interesting. And when you start to study currency from this perspective, it'll help you to understand what it's even used for, why there's different currencies. So come to find out that the reason why a lot of us aren't making it to what's called heaven and going to hell, I know you're going to think I'm nuts talking about this, but I'm serious, is because of our ignorance when it comes to currency. See, to go to heaven, you have to have a certain amount of notes that will help you to go to a place. That's right, a place. See, heaven is a place. It's a surah in the Quran that talks about true heaven. It's called elevated places. That's right, it's a place. See, when you go and rise and ascend, this is going somewhere to a place. This is not a thing. You see, so most of us, our concept of getting stuff is thrown off because we want to buy stuff to get things. We need pounds. That's why we're not getting it. So when you buy them in cash, what happens? So you invested someone else's money. This is why it's fiat. You invested someone else's money. You took a loan. You bought it in cash as a fiat note. So then at some point, they say the car depreciates and it loses its value. Come to find out, this isn't true. If you had bought that car in pounds, it wouldn't have lost its value. That's right, because this is how you buy things. In pounds. If you'd have bought that diamond in pounds, it wouldn't have lost its value, but you go and buy this diamond in cash, and then over time, it's not worth as much. It's because of the means of how you acquired it. You see, cash is owned by someone, and only till this is where the annuities come in at. This is when it gets really interesting, because the annuities are generated actually from the franc currency, which is actually going into the boss over cash. They say cash is king. But franc, this is a note that goes into, again, you notice it's the name of a person. That's right. And it's also the name of a place. Several places like Franklin. That's a place, Franklin. There's several Franklins across the country. This is a place. This is going into a person, a name that eventually establishes a kingdom or a throne. So they say cash is king. This is going into a certain type of government. When we talk about franc, this is going into another government, which takes you into digital currency, believe it or not, which is what I talk a lot about. So when you start to understand what these currencies are actually used for and begin to buy stuff based upon what they're used for, you'll notice your wealth will exceed tremendously. And then you'll start to understand about when they speak about like how this is going to be a cashless society one day. Then you'll start to understand that and how that's going to operate, how to actually be successful in it. So when you start talking about going to heaven and hell, remember, hell is a condition of debt predicated upon the misuse of cash and reincarnating. I know this is going to sound wild. You're like, whoa, you trying to say that the way that we use money can cause us to reincarnate and to come back? Yes, this is what I'm studying. And coming to find out that what you use and how, like they say, you get, like they always say, you're going to get what you put out. They always say that. What goes around comes around. Cause and effect. This is what it's called, the law of cause and effect, a universal law. And you get what you put out, but you don't realize that what you put out, if you put it out right, you'll get back exactly what you wanted to have. It's called the law of correspondence. So if I use this particular note, for instance, if I use this note and I want this note to represent something, I'm gonna see if I have it. Like if I want this note to represent something, or this isn't a note, but this is a coin that's actually gold. So I want this to represent something, and I want this to eventually correspond with this. This is how you create magic. And I want this to correspond with this. This is going into actually how you can use one item to attract another item because they're similar. So when you make investments with digital currency, I'm starting to learn that you have to try to attract cash through similarities of the digital unit that you're investing. So I invest minutes, for instance. You have to find some form of a equal cash exchange to exchange out and cash out minutes. So this is getting into, so you start understanding heaven and being able to, it's just like catching a flight. It's a place. So I told you to go study the surah in the Quran called Elevated Places, because the judges, remember, they know everything about money. And they have to read the Quran for a reason. They keep it a secret. And they know that essentially you have to have certain, if you want to go certain places, like when the Egyptians, when they died, you notice they buried themselves with stuff. Why would they have done this? Rich type stuff right now that's worth millions if you dug it up and tried to go cash it in. Why would they have wasted millions of dollars worth of stuff instead of giving it to someone and put it in their gravesite? It's because of the law of correspondence and understanding that you can only get through certain gates. When you start talking about regeneration and coming back over and over again, and having the ability to come back on this plane and cross the borderland at will is what they talk about. There's a border that separates our world from another world. It's currency. That's the secret that they're not going to tell you. That's the gate. And the password actually is what it really is. That's keeping you in this reality and not being able to correspond with that next reality. As a man thinketh, or as a woman thinketh.